Hi guys, and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today we're going to be looking at the American Tier 7 Premium Medium Tank, the T23E3. Now, this came in the quarterback bundle with the T95E2, the Ripper and the Ram 2, and rightly or wrongly I assumed this was basically a T20 with the 76mm gun. I was kind of wrong, kind of right, and we'll go through that in a minute. It's slightly bigger than the T20, and I can only assume that it was an evolution of the T20 with it being the T23. Again, if I'm wrong, please let me know in the comments. I'm not a tank historian. Personally, and I'll get this right off the bat, I don't particularly like this tank. It doesn't mean it's a bad tank, it's just not for me. And, you know, there's quite a lot of people out there that if they don't like a tank, it's crap. And that's not the case. I'm not keen on this tank. It doesn't mean it's rubbish. One of my subs has given me some advice on how to play it, and I would say that's probably some good advice actually. I've tried to play it that way. It doesn't quite work for me, so I've been trying out different ways of doing it, trying to just figure out how I can play this tank, because his way, it is a very good way of doing it, but it just doesn't quite work for me. And he plays it kind of active scouting over ridge lines, that sort of thing, for the first part of the match, and then goes into sort of late game cleanup. And one of the things that it does have going for it is a massive health pool. It's got 1,440 hit points, which is like the upper limit of the tier 8 medium health pools. The T20 next to it I think has 1,100 hit points. Yeah, there you go. So, you know, it does have a massive health pool, so you can trade shots later on in the game if you've been conserving your health. But it is quite a small damage gun because it is 76, and the turret seems to be from a Sherman. It looks very familiar, but yeah, it looks like a Sherman turret, and again I could be wrong, but it certainly looks like one. There's the Fury, you see the gun mantle on it, and yeah, it kind of looks like a slightly wider, flatter Sherman turret. But anyway, bonus wise, let's get that out of the way. And the cost, well, it's listed at 7,000 gold, and it gets a 60% silver bonus, which is good, and a 20% XP bonus, which isn't bad, but it's not brilliant. There are some other slight differences to the T20, like the upper glacis armor is slightly stronger on this, the front of the turret is slightly weaker. I'm comparing it to that because that, you know, same tier, very similar tank, they both get the M1A2, but this one is slightly different. Now, with its silver bonus, I find that with it having particularly low damage, you do have to do a lot of shots, and because you're doing low damage, you know, 10 shots is around 1,000 damage, you have to put out a hell of a lot of shots and do a hell of a lot of, you know, to do loads of damage to get your XP and your silver up. So the 60% does help with that because it is a low damage tank. But let's get into the actual gun and look at that. Now, it is an M1A2. It gets 18.18 rounds a minute, same as the T20 with this gun, same as the Sherman. In fact, most things that use this gun get that rate of fire. Penetration, though, is higher. Instead of 128, it's 149 for your standard ammo. 115 damage, though, which is kind of an issue. I think that's possibly my problem with it, maybe, I don't know. I mean, you can, like I say, 10 shots, and any other tank might be 3,000 damage at tier 7. It's like, you know, 1,000 in this. 190 for your APCR, and they are HVAP again, high velocity armor piercing. Thank you again to one of my subs. 115 damage, and then 38, 185 for your HE. It does get a better aiming time than the T20 with this gun, at 2.2 seconds, so 2.3, and accuracy is better at 0.36 instead of 0.4. So, you know, it does have that going for it. It's a slightly improved version of the M1A2. Hull traverse 40 degrees, which isn't bad, and it's good for an American medium. I think the Pershing fully upgraded is something like 38, so that's not bad. And then the turret traverse 42, again good for an American medium. View range is 380, which is 10 meters less than a standard T20, and a very, very poor signal range at 395, which can be an issue keeping in touch with your teammates, especially when you are trying to do that sort of more active scouting role. Now, what do I want to look at in here? There was something, yeah, that gets oh yeah, the Pershing, sorry, is tier 8 as well. This is tier 7. The T20 is 37, and the same turret traverse at 42. So, you know, its hull traverse are better as well, so that's not bad. But the T20 gets, I think, a power to weight ratio of about 18.26. So we'll bear that in mind when I can stop pressing the wrong button. Supplies wise, they're cheap though, because it's a 76mm, 96 for your armor piercing, 2800 for your APCR premiums, and 68 for your high explosive. Equipment wise, well, I've gone for vertical stabilizer for obvious reason. Gun rammer to try and improve that rate of fire and get more, more DPM out of it, because it is a low damage. And I've gone for coated optics because I just feel that outspotting your enemy is more important in this than some other tanks that I've been in. So that's why I've gone for that. Skills, it's fairly green crew. It's actually my T20 crew. T20 was a late purchase, so it's a fairly green crew which I'm trying to train up. But 6th sense, camouflage, definitely safe stowage on this at some point. Probably muffled shots, maybe silent running, green thumb, anything to make it as hard as possible to be seen, because that will be a big advantage. And it definitely is a sort of flanker, a late game cleaner, working the ridge lines, but it is most definitely a support style tank, and you've got to try and get sustained fire if you can without taking any in return. Now, modules. Well, it gets a 500 horsepower engine, which is quite small, but it is physically massive. It's a huge engine block which takes up most of the back of the tank. Quite a good forward speed of 56.3 kilometers an hour, but a very, very poor power to weight ratio of 13.91. That's sort of heavy tank standards, which is quite poor. And I think this tank would perform better and probably be more popular if they reduced the armor slightly and gave it a bigger power to weight ratio and made it a bit more like, say, a Cromwell or sort of a pseudo light tank. Maybe not keep its concealment bonuses on the move, but be called a light tank with a bit lighter armor, much higher power to weight ratio. I just feel that a tank with this, I mean, it's not bad armor, but it's definitely not good armor by any means. In fact, no, it probably is sort of edging on bad armor, and a very low damage gun. I think having the mobility of sort of a heavy tank when it comes to the power to weight ratio is a bit, I don't know, it doesn't quite go together. You do have a very good reverse speed though of 30 kilometers an hour. However, with the bad power to weight ratio, it takes a while to get up there. So whereas that would normally be a really good advantage for pulling back out of trouble, because you've got a crap power to weight ratio, it takes a while to get up to your 30, so it still takes you quite a bit to get out of trouble. And it will do its top speed, but it won't get there particularly quickly, and hills are not your friend. And you've got a 20% chance of fire as well. I've not had that done to me yet, but it's probably going to come at some point. Now, the gun does have a very good gun elevation of 25 degrees and very good gun depression of -10, which is very, very typical to the American tanks and very good for working the ridge lines. And with it having a very similar turret to something like the Easy 8, I think people that love the Easy 8 and that are familiar with that sort of play style will probably get on quite well with this. Tracks, well, there are quite a few gaps in the tracks, as you can see there, so that's something to maybe think about, although I don't think anything's had much trouble penning me from the side in this so far. But it does have very, very good terrain resistances as well, so that, your big health pool, it does have some advantages going for it. And like I say, just because I don't like it doesn't mean it's a bad tank or it's rubbish or anything else. It's just not my thing. There are guys out there that will probably love this tank and get on really well with it and be really successful with it. It's probably not one I'm going to be driving particularly often, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, very good terrain resistances, 0.6, 0.7 and 1.1. They are good. Turret on top, where we'd expect it. Radio is in the bump at the back, at the same as it would be on a Sherman again, which is, I still think it's a Sherman turret. Again, I might be wrong. Let me know in the comments if you know otherwise. This is why I get my ammo rack damaged a lot in this tank. Very big ammo rack in the middle of the tank. I've had it damaged from the side, I've had it damaged from the front. So if you've not got safe stowage on your crew, oops, sorry, I've just knocked something over. If you've not got safe stowage on your crew, possibly put a wet ammo rack on instead of the gun rammer or the coated optics or something until you do. The rate of fire is very good anyway, so you could possibly drop the gun rammer until you get safe stowage. Oh, and concealment, I nearly forgot. 0.25 while stationary and 0.19 while on the move, which again aren't bad. I just wish it was faster. Maybe say give it reduced armor, slightly bigger engine, better power to weight ratio, make it a bit of a pseudo light or a bit more like the Cromwell, that sort of thing. Crew members, Well, you've got the driver and assistant driver slash machine gunner down in the front of the hull, and I'm assuming he may be counted as the radio operator in this game, I'm not entirely sure. And you've also got the commander under his commander's cupola, where he always is, and then you've got the loader and the gunner up in the turret with him. Now, armour-wise, again, these are where there's some slight differences. It's 76 on the front of the hull, whereas I think the normal T20 is 64. And you've got 51 on the sides, which is the same, 38 on the rear, which is the same. The turret is 76 on the front, which is different again. The normal T20 gets 89, but 64 on the sides and the rear, which is the same as that one. Let's have a look at the proper figures, though. Well, you've got as close as we can get to the proper figures, should I say. You've got 1 to 20 mil, which is the engine deck, and your tracks, which will act as an amount of spaced armour. Also, the floor of the hull, and I would say, well, the deck underneath the turret. You've then got 21 to 30, which is the top of the turret itself, and maybe the turret ring. I'm not entirely sure what that's going to be classed as. Now, depending on the thickness of that angle there just behind the gun mantle, if it's 21 mil, then a 76 mil gun will overmatch it, and that means that if the calibre of the gun is 3 times or greater the thickness of the armour, it will pen no matter the angle. If it's 30 mil, you need a 90 mil, but do bear that in mind. 31 to 50, which is a bit of a lie, because the hull sides are supposed to be 51. Well, the hull sides fall into the 31 to 50, as does the rear of the tank, which is supposed to be 38, and the commander's hatches, and the top of the machine gun cupola in the front. 51 to 70 is, well, the rest of the turret, which is supposed to be 64, and the lower glacis, so we can only guess at the thickness of that one. 71 to 90 is the whole of the upper glacis, that bump just underneath the gun there on the, well, at the top of the upper glacis, and the whole of the gun mantle, and just underneath and around it as well, as is the machine gun port. Now, if you are struggling to pen one of these things because you're a lower tier, and you're struggling to get through the upper glacis, try and go for that machine gun port, because although it's the same thickness, it's flatter, so it's not got that angling, so its effective thickness is less. And then you've just got 91 to 120. Well, that's just the underside of that very little bump on the front, and that's it. And I think we've about covered it. I'll try and give a few more gameplay tips in the replays if I can. But I think, yeah, that's about it. Oh, and it's, did I say its retail price? 7,000 is its listed price in the Tankopedia, and it doesn't see higher than tier 8 because it does have preferential matchmaking. And I think that's about it. So yeah, T23E3, tier 7 premium medium. And I think that's about that. So we'll get into the replays and see how it actually handles. Right, so here we are for the first replay. It's Severogorsk, it's in the snow, it's a standard battle, and it's a tier 7 match. Now, I think I mentioned in a video the other day I'd had a couple of games in this, literally just 2, and then I think this one was yesterday. It might have been the 3rd game that I played in it, so possibly the first game I played in it yesterday. And I took into account the advice I'd been given, and also the limitations of the tank. And for those of you that have skipped the garage bit, basically a bit of a roundup is that it does have a very poor power to weight ratio, and I just feel that maybe because it's got a good top speed, and you can see when it gets going, you know, it's nippy, but it just takes a while getting there. It's not very good going up hills, and maybe if it just had the power to weight ratio increased slightly, it would possibly be more competitive. Maybe, I don't know about as fast as a Comet, although it does have a fantastic turret on it, so I don't think this would be overpowered. If it was that, I don't know, just a bit more acceleration, and I think it would make this tank a lot more popular. Now, and again, just because I don't like this tank doesn't mean it's a bad tank. I can definitely see its potential to somebody who can use it better than I can. Now, I've come across the northwest corner, and the way I've angled myself, I'm partially up the hill, and I'm taking bounces off, I think, possibly my upper glacis. And I didn't get spotted at first because of the bush in front of me, although once I got seen, started getting shot at. But you can see how I am, you know, how I've sort of parked up this embankment to make the upper glacis a lot more angled. Now, I think that VK3601H, if he's got the, you know, the short 88, he's got 132mm of pen. This is a 76mm upper glacis, so You know, just a bit of angling, and you can bounce that and a bit of distance as well, but you don't want to get too close in. But yeah, it excuse me. It is. I don't know. It kind of reminds me of a tier 7 Sherman. I mean, it's got that same damage, but it's almost like when you go from the M4 to the Easy 8, you're kind of using the same gun, but you get the increase in the rate of fire. You know, a slight increase, and it does kind of feel like a tier 7 Sherman in a way. But like I said before, I just think either possibly reduce the armour, increase the power to weight ratio, and make it like a sort of pseudo light tank, a bit like the Snakebite was before they gave it its camo bonuses on the move, or leave the armour as it is and just give it a bit of an increase to the power to weight ratio just to help the acceleration and when you're going up hills. Now this match is with the crew that you saw in the garage, which is a pretty green crew. Like I say, it's my T20 crew that I'm training up. They've got camouflage nearly full and 6th sense on them. And I'd just been having bad games in this. Like I say, I can definitely see the potential of this tank. I just don't think I've been using it quite right, but I'm getting there with it. I've been having better games, but even a good game in this, you still come sort of, you know, maybe a third of the way down the list, and it's almost like you have to judge good games in this to every other tank separately because it's got such low damage. And you know, I had a game in this. I don't think it was this one. Possibly it might be the next one I do, and I did quite a bit of damage for this tank. You know, I had a good game in it, and I still came about a third of the way down the table at the end. And it's just because the damage is so low that it does. Let's see if I can get this chaffee. Oh, that was it. The crew. Yeah, got distracted. Yeah, this is with the, you know, just 6th sense and nearly full camo, and I got a bit fed up of having crappy games in it, so I thought, do you know what, I'm going to take that crew, I'm going to put a good crew in it, and I put the crew in out of my T30. They've not got all the camouflage skills, but muffled shot, camouflage itself, 6th sense, but there's an arms, repairs, situational awareness is building up, and I think there might be something else on it, and it made a massive difference. Oh, there's the enemy T23E3, and yeah, I backed up into a building and he rammed me and I was the last one left, so that's me done, and in fact the team done. But yeah, I put a new crew, well, put that really good crew in it, and I've started to have much better games, getting more damage, getting spotted less, and I don't think I've been in another tank that has been so dependent on a good crew. You know, any other tank, you stick a crew in it, you know, maybe with just 6th sense on and have good games and do well. Oh, yeah, 1,497 damage out of that one. So not too bad, and I came 2nd, which was quite nice, but it was a defeat. So, yeah, it does seem very dependent on having a very good crew in it. It really does help. But now, I have started to get used to it a little bit. There's this game here. It's a tier 7 match again. And we're on mines and another standard battle. And yeah, I had quite a decent game in this. I didn't use it the sort of scouting way. I have done that a couple of times now. You do have to take into account that low power to weight ratio. But if you can get a bit of a run up before you come out of cover and actually get up to speed, yeah, it's not too bad. It is bigger than a T20. It's still low profile-ish. Or it seems it anyway, although it could be deceptive. But this is one of the other ways that I've found of using this quite effectively, and that is to sort of stay back and, yeah, just pure support role, almost like a traditional tank destroyer or something like that. Or maybe how you'd play, you know, your Sherman at first. Play it a bit cautious and then go in for late game cleanup. And it is good at that because, like I say, when you get going, it does 56 kilometers an hour. It's got absolutely fantastic health pool. You know, it's a massive health pool for its tier, for a tier 7 medium. And if you can save that health for the end of the game, you can go out and trade shots with things. And even though they're doing a lot more damage than you, your rate of fire more than makes up for it. You know, I'm not saying sit in front of them and just pop away, but you know, you can afford to take a hit or two. And now I'm going to, well, I'm working on that tiger. It does take quite a few hits to whittle them down, especially because the tiger has quite a large health pool actually, 1500 hit points. I was quite surprised to find out the T29 only has 1250, which I don't know why I didn't know that, but I just felt like it should have more than that, but it doesn't. But I've repositioned, so I was taking some hits from the Fury, and I think he was firing a PCR, possibly. Was that a red tracer that flew in front of me? And that's the other thing today. I have seen some appalling behaviour. I was in a tier 7 match earlier in this, and there was some Tiger 131s. Top tier, you know, there was nothing above them on the thingy. They were the top tier heavies. There weren't many top tier heavies in the match. And yeah, they were firing premium ammo at everything, including me with my 51mm of side armour. They were firing premium ammo at me. And yeah, later on there was an STA2 that was firing nothing but heat when he was top tier as well. You know, you use premium ammo, there's a time and a place, not just spam it constantly. Now, at this point, I'm going to have to let on a little secret. Somebody actually knocked on our door, so my wife took over for a few seconds. And then I joined back. The tiger, unfortunately, got taken out by somebody else. And she's not been in this tank before, but she's going to try and get that Fury. Yeah, and he's ducking back and forth. But like I say, I can see the potential in this. You know, it is low damage. The added penetrations, the M1A2, is nice. The rate of fire is good. Terrain resistances, like I've said, are fantastic. The top speed is good. You know, it's got good hull traverse. It's got, you know, a good turret traverse, quite workable. And I don't know. I think the thing that lets it, for me, the thing that lets it down the most is the power to weight ratio, the acceleration. But I can see people that really like the Shermans. I quite like the Shermans, but I can see people that do really well in the Shermans doing well in this tank possibly, and I could see it doing really well with a really good light tank crew in it as well. You know, with all the camo skills and everything else. Ooh, slightly low roll on the Fury. That would have probably finished him off. It would have just hit my average damage. Now I think, yeah, that heavy's going to pop out and finish him off. Yep, there he goes. And let's see if I can chase down that ELC. Now, something else I have found out about this, even though it can shift at full pelt 56, it's no slouch. It's not too bad at firing on the move. You know, it does miss the odd shot, because which tank wouldn't, but it is quite good at firing on the move as well, so maybe smooth ride. As you can see there, when I hit the ELC, that's a very small tank to hit. Now, as I'm just trying to hunt down RT, I'm going to ask you guys a question. The Ripper, I've got it, I've had it for a while, I've not reviewed it yet. It is in the quarterback bundle with this and the T23E3. And I was just wondering, oh, there's RT, and that was very lucky, but I'll reload in time to kill him. There we go. So yeah, I was just wondering if you'd like me to do a Ripper review, because it's in this bundle with these tanks, and possibly even the Ram too, if you'd like to see that. But if you would, just let me know in the comments, and I might work on one, maybe not tomorrow, but probably early next week. But yeah, that was a decent round for that tank. 1,926 damage. That's not bad. It's the best, well, yeah, it's the most damage I've done in it so far. 72,000 credits, silver. But I did, I think, do an op as well. But not very high up on the table, and that seems to be the thing with this tank for me anyway. I can have what is a good game in it and still not come very high up. But there you go. That's the T23E3, and I hope you enjoyed tonight's episode. And as always, I'll be back tomorrow with another video. So for now, take care out there, and I'll catch you next time. See you later.